Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Breaking Barriers. I'm excited with me to have Aaron, not Adam Levine, okay? We're going to correct that real quick. Dude, thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it.
John, thank you.
With LG Insurance, right? High net worth. I found it really fascinating because I don't think a lot of people focus on your area, at least around these parts. I know you'll see that stuff in LA, New York, and you have like really like a concierge type, like high net worth individual specific. So for people out there, like who's Aaron? Also, what's LG? Why high net worth only? Let's talk about that.
So we like the high net worth niche, right? Mm-hmm. But I started the business 14 years ago now. And I was in a space where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Right.
Right now, I love creating content and being a guest on great shows like yours. But differentiating myself into the high net worth space, into the high value space, one, we get to write fewer policies and make a lot more money.
That's always fun.
Two, in Eastern Monmouth County, we have a lot of larger, more expensive properties than there are in Western Monmouth County.
Right.
So we focus on a lot of coastal properties. We're licensed in 17 states. So we love being able to solve a puzzle, which is a bit more complex for people with significant assets and multiple properties around the country.
Right.
I have one client that has international property that we insure, only one. There's probably lots more out there that we could get into. But it's pretty cool when you get to really piece these larger projects together instead of somebody buying a $400,000 or $500,000 house who's like, I need it cheap, I need it fast, I need it quick. I'm like, well, I don't like to do cheap fast, because we're gonna make a mistake,
right? And
you're not gonna have everything you need,
right?
Although you think you're gonna have what you need, and you don't know about it until shit hits the fan, and
right.
Love and hope and prayers out to Florida right now with what's going on.
I know, man. Seriously.
It's
and hey, Billy,
it's wild.
Do portrait. Thank you, dude. It's insane what's going on out there right now, and I can only imagine, especially because like it's all like it's not even just oceanfront now. People that are like even back like are getting whacked, but like also all those homes that are multi-million-dollar homes,
right?
Whacked right now.
Yeah,
so
everything. One of my high school friends who lives in the Tampa area right now posted a video on his Facebook this morning. I guess they're on the second floor of the house. The water was like coming through the ground floor of their home.
Wow.
I'm like,
that's freaky.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because the amount of cleanup to get labor crews down there to do the work that needs to be done to put your life back together. Forget about the money aspect.
Right.
And getting insurance to pay for it. Just the time and the labor, the shortage of labor that we have right now,
right.
It's going to be wild for a lot of these people to repair.
Yeah. I want to take a quick step back. So I love what you said. Obviously in our podcast, a lot of the people that listen in here are entrepreneurs and people who aspire to be or are that looking to dial up what they're doing, get that edge. And I love one thing that you said that I think it took me a long time to realize in my career. Right? I started adapting when I was 17.
Right.
I'm going to be 31. I am 31 now. But the whole thing though is like, what you said before, I don't think people understand enough, which is like, I'd rather have a higher, let's call it net worth client, so that I can do a little less of the work and make more money, right? And so many people out there are in the opposite game,
right?
Where they're chasing the people who said they want it quick, they want it fast, and all that other stuff,
right?
And cheap. So it's like, what made you come to that point, right? Like, and have you always thought that way, or is it something that you developed and learned over?
So. It was 2007 I incorporated. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was in corporate sales. My family owns the Windmill restaurants. I was in the windmill business, went back to grad school, trying to figure I was in real estate. Once real estate went to the shit in 2008, I'm like, all right, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
So what was safe? Liquor and insurance are two recession-proof industries.
Right.
Right. Everyone's going to drink in good times and bad, and
100%.
People are screwed and have to pay their insurance premium.
Right.
So I chased the commodity here, but over time and additional education and effort, we were able to continue to evolve the business, and I'm continuously evolving and trying to figure out ways to become more efficient, more profitable through that efficiency, right? And just continuing to grow the business. And well, we can write 25 of these and half of them are going to go away, or we can focus and really spend a lot more time and write 10 of these.
Right.
but I have the networks and the contacts to write these 10. Not everybody has
those networks,
that
right.
quick fix, jump into that network. And guess what? You can't go from day one and sell these people that are a little bit, in theory, more sophisticated, in theory.
Right.
And they're not so much of a quick hit because there's not as many of them out there, right?
Right.
Just on house volume, one house on the oceanfront, a bigger house is going to take up a little bit more dirt, right? And there's fewer of them, or it's a vacation home and they're coming from Philly or they're coming from somewhere else, right? If it's New York Metro or, going further south. So it really depends, and it's really just working your way to the right centers of influence to be in contact with the right people, right? So I do a lot of network marketing into center of influences, right? Who can I work with to help?
Right.
That can then get me to the right people, right? We're not cold calling,
right?
Not knocking on doors or putting door mailers on. We've done that in some of the lower end stuff in years past. You have to try all these different. That's your game, right? What do? We keep trying and adapting and figuring out what's the next quick fix, which there never is one. It's keeping everything stable and traditional works.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because. So networking and the power of networking in the right, obviously, circles of influence I even surprised myself. So before COVID, I was always on the road, always. I was never around. I was either flying to this place, doing that. I was all over the place, right? Because we have an international business.
That's awesome.
So I'm always going places. But COVID happens, now I'm pinned down in Jersey, right? And I'm stuck. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, all right, well, what the fuck am I going to do to keep getting, and it wasn't purely like we have like our channels and how we acquire leads have been over a decade. So we know what we need to do, just go and fish and bring back bait.
Right.
Or bring back fish, but so I found myself like, damn, like I feel like depressed as shit because I can't go meet new people, talk to people. So Angelica, myself, and one of our clients who's in real estate, there was this like New York event that came up. Angelica, when was that? It was like 4 months ago? Yeah, it was like a quarter ago.
Right.
So anyway, she's like, let's go to this event. I'm like, I don't know, because I haven't done it forever. I'm like, we go there, and I think we got like 3 or 4 clients out of it.
That's amazing.
And I want a meeting, and then now I'm coaching a Columbia professor who's tenured at Columbia University in New York on entrepreneurship because he wants to continue his education outside of what you learn in academia, which is guideline, entrepreneurship, not guideline.
Right.
But it's like I would have never gotten that if I didn't go network in that circle of influence. So I just think everybody out there, we live in a world now where, especially with Gen Z, no offense to the Gen Zers, anybody who's in the room, but and even millennial too, I'll give it to even my group, like millennial and Gen Z are very bad when it comes to real communication.
Right.
Like they don't want to go out and do that networking. They don't want to go do X. So there's also one thing I do want to just clarify, because earlier we were talking about, okay, well, go after the bigger clients, and then you could charge more and you do the same or less work.
Sure.
And I think one of the issues around that is, okay, Gen Z millennials, they don't want to go talk to people. They always want to text and online dating, and nobody can meet in person anymore. So it's like, now you also come to the point where they have this extremely high bar. And I think college does this for people. And they come out, and I'll never forget, we had this one videographer like 5-6 years ago that came and started working with us. Or, I'm sorry, they tried to get a job here.
Right.
And they were like, hey, I'm fresh out of school. I'm like, all right, cool, let me see your portfolio. And they were like, I don't have one yet, just have a college one. And I was like, okay, let me see your college one. And it was like a typical college one. It was okay.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. And they were like, yeah, they're like, based on like what my professors were telling us, because we always like to ask the question, like, what is your salary expectation? Right. We just like to ask that question. In a nutshell, this person was like, oh, I think because of, what my professor told me, like I should be making 100K. And I was like, well, that's very wrong. So your professor's a fucking dumbass and has no real life experience, clearly. So anyway, but the whole point though is that we wound up not hiring the person, obviously, because of the huge gap. But we always like to just kind of educate people too. I'm just like, hey, listen, you want some feedback? Yeah, sure. Build a portfolio for yourself. Like if you had a portfolio and you have something that's like really insane, maybe somebody will take the bait.
Right.
But you have a big gap, you're new. And they were like, well, it's hard to find that portfolio. You can put it over here. It's hard to find that portfolio, or build that portfolio because people don't want to pay what I think I'm deserve. And I'm like, listen, when I started adapting social, I was knocking on doors all over Bricktown and Ocean County for free. I would be like, let me just do your website. Let me just build your website. And eventually, those 15 free websites, because it's exactly 15, got me more clients. So like, just do that. And that person was like, no, like I'm not gonna go do it for free. So I think that's the difference, is like that grit of like understanding that you have to work your ass off to get to the point of what you're talking about, of the bigger clients and having that standard.
I'm a huge fan of giving it all away.
Yeah.
I've got no secrets to hide. I've got no secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, I'm giving it away anyway. I
Right.
have nothing to hide, right?
Right.
I believe in that. I believe in
Right.
you're going to give,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't even have to take because it's all going to come back,
Right.
right? So that prospect at that time that didn't want to give anything and just to take
Right.
is not going to go anywhere. So
Right.
I'd be curious as to where they are today. If you're watching, give a call, because you definitely are watching. But I firmly believe in giving away as much knowledge as I have, gaining more knowledge, continuing to educate, and this is a platform. You are providing an education for people that are watching your show,
Right.
and figuring out who you're interviewing and watching what's going on to take one thing away out of this conversation, regardless of what it is,
100%.
right?
And we live in this crazy world now. I know you're 25, I'm 31, but in this world that we live in now,
I wish I was 25. I mean, fucking 42. Jesus.
you don't look it though. I wouldn't have guessed 42, but good for you. But I think one of the things though that is so crazy that I think that I've definitely had a little bit more of than you were able to in the beginning, because like obviously like when I was young, that's when like Windows 95 came out, and that's when like it was accessible to everybody, computers,
Right.
and the internet, AOL, and it's like, but there was never access to what you're saying, which is like right now I can go on YouTube and I could like obsessively watch Steve Jobs videos or Tony Robbins or speeches by Jeff Bezos. I'll never be in a room with that guy, right? But I can listen to some things that he's learned in his journey, right?
Sure.
Which that experience is invaluable.
Listen, my favorite podcast to listen to, one of them, Seth Godin, right? The Akimbo podcast.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
I mean, for two reasons. One, he's been through it all, so his experience is phenomenal. He doesn't interview anybody, right?
Right.
This is his monologue,
Right.
and it's 15 minutes long, right?
Yeah, which is the perfect time.
That's the time to get from my office to here, plus take 2 phone calls
In between.
in the car, right? So
Beautiful.
I get a couple nuggets, then I get to have some calls,
Right.
and then I'm here. It's great. Hour-long podcasts are
They're
brutal,
tough.
so I don't think we're going to go.
No, we're definitely not. But what? So let's pivot real quick.
Go.
So, what does success look like for you? Like, what do you consider successful? Like in your own world for you, right? Like for Aaron, like what does success look like to you?
It's a tough question, man, because I try to take the humble approach and be like, I'm not successful, but I have a lot to share.
Right.
Right? Because I look up to a lot of people. I'm like, oh, that guy is really successful. He's got X.
Right.
Right. And it's not necessarily money, right? Within business, he's got revenues of $25 million or $100 million. Like that guy made it. How do I get there? I'm like, I don't want to take my business to $100 million.
Right.
I want to sell it long before then. Right. Like I want to cash out here along the spectrum and then go do something else.
Right.
Figure out what I can do different, what I can do better, because there's always things that can be changed along the way, right?
Totally.
Other people look at me like, oh man, Aaron, how'd you do it? You're so successful. And I'm like, just went to work, told the truth, and picked up the phone when I needed to pick up the phone, good, bad, or ugly, accessible.
Right.
Right? So my secret is being accessible, and my staff all knows it. Everybody knows that your number one rule is pick up the goddamn phone when the phone rings or somebody needs something from us. Be responsive, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, that opportunity, that being so open to any opportunity.
Right.
I learned that big time from Ryan Serhant. He was my keynote speaker for an event that I had, and I'm just gonna have you go live real quick. And when I was talking to him before the event, like, dude, the guy literally, like, I couldn't believe, like, ever watched the show $1 Million Listing at all?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So he literally, no joke, winds up like, essentially I'm on a call with him. You know how to just hit the button? Okay. So I'm on a call with him, and he's like, oh, John, can you hang on 1 second? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Blah, blah, blah. John, can you hang on 1 second? Yeah, no problem. And it happened like 4 times on like a 30-minute phone call.
Okay.
And I was like, damn, this guy like is busy as hell. And the first time when me and my team reached out to him to get him as our keynote speaker, I remember we work with a lot of real estate people, so like a lot of our real estate clients that know us, that I'm friends with, they're like, dude, there's no way you're getting this guy to come to Jersey. He's not coming to Jersey. And I was like, money talks, motherfucker. We'll see if he comes to
Is
Jersey.
that the one you did with Joe Oz? Who'd you do that with? You did in Asbury
No,
Park?
it was in Asbury. Yeah, it
was in Asbury. Okay.
Yeah, Oz wasn't on it. I had Sal Ventry, Chris Walsh.
Okay, got it.
The Ivy Slater was like the executive coach, and then we had Ryan.
I remember when you did that. It was a couple
Yeah,
years. Right?
it was a couple years
Pre-COVID,
back.
right?
It was 2019.
Okay.
And but anyway, and then like we're sitting there, and he literally was like talking about how like he has 1 million emails a day, and all my real estate people were like, "Yo, he's not going to come here."
Right.
Anyway, so but we when I shot him that email, the first email, I got it. And for anybody out there who wants to know this, there's this thing called Hunter. It's a Gmail Chrome extension app.
Okay.
And you can go to any domain and capture all existing emails on it. So I got his email from that.
That's awesome.
So I went there. So shout out to Hunter, by the way. And hopefully you salespeople out there love that. But anyway, so I got his fucking email. I jump right in, and I shoot him an email, right? Let's just say it's like 3:05 p.m.
Okay.
So I'm doing shit, whatever. I get out of a podcast at 3:08.
Right.
I had an email back from him with like setting up a call to discuss the event, and I was like, wow. And anything in between that, this dude was so insanely responsive.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. And then when he was on stage, that was like one of his biggest things. Like he prides himself in taking almost any and every opportunity because this is what got him to where he is today.
Right.
And what you're
That's
saying,
so
like,
cool.
so any call, any this, any that, it's like those things are so important.
Right.
And yeah, so I think that's huge. But I want to reframe the question though. I don't think I asked it properly. So I was essentially asking you in your own mind, right? So paint me a picture of like, if you were like, okay, boom, I hit this peak of whatever success means to you.
Right.
Paint me the picture of what your life looks like. And get as vivid as you want or as general as you want.
Man.
But what does that look like for Aaron if you were at that peak, like boom, you sold the company, you did this, what does it look like?
Right. Listen, I think I'm in a great place now, right? But I'm always looking to grow. To me, like, success seems like the end.
Right.
Right? I don't ever like to think, right? Sometimes we think with the end in mind.
It is a little depressing.
You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's like, what do I do? What do I do then?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to say I'm successful now, right? I've got a great staff. I think I've got a team of 13 when you put everybody together, plus the, my remote people. You know, Abby just joined the team about a less than a month ago. So just continuing to grow. Like, I see success as what we have today. We have well-paid employees. We have the phone ringing for people wanting to purchase more product from us.
Right.
Right. And we're out sharing our knowledge, and I get to do what I wanted to do. Right. So there, you cracked the shell open. Success is getting to be out doing what I want to do, and then sharing knowledge, getting to be with the right people.
Right.
Not in front of a computer servicing an insurance policy or adding a vehicle at Friday at 4 o'clock when somebody buys a car. Don't buy cars Friday at 4 o'clock. We hate those fucking phone calls.
And I'm always that fucking guy, I gotta be honest. I'm always that guy.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible. And like we get secret shopper calls come in, and the one secret shopper calls that come in Friday at 4 o'clock are all terrible. They're so bad. They're so bad because we're just drained from the week. Like, and I've listened to them, and it's just, and I giggle because I'm like, Friday 4 o'clock, you should just be told to fuck off and try again on Monday, right?
Right.
But that's not necessarily the case when you live in the service world. But so success to me is being able to do what I can do to help my people and continue to grow my business at the same time without having a financial worry. Right. Not knowing where I'm going to be. Right.
Yeah.
When I started the business, I had to choose. I'm like, all right, I'm going to pay rent, the electric bill, or the phone bill.
Right.
Because I didn't know where the next dollar was coming in.
Yep.
And I'm like, so yeah, we had the electric shut off. We could never lose our phone service, although it did happen once. Right. Because I was late on the internet bill. But I'm like, we live on the phones. I can deflect my landlord a little bit, but I don't want to get locked out either, right? So the phones were critical. And this was 2009 when I opened the doors. So you still needed a little bit more infrastructure. Right. Today, you don't need any of it.
No,
right?
Which is wild.
We're 90% remote. COVID hit. Everybody was able to pick up their laptop and their phone, go home, and work from home. And nobody wants to come back to the office full time. We come back. We do some social events. And we have 1.5 people in the office throughout the week, and that's about it. So I was able to downsize and save some money on rent, which is always good too.
Did the same thing. So all right. So if one of the things that we always get is we get fans ask you some questions and throw in some things real quick. So one of the things that I always like to ask, and this actually popped up as a fan question too. So, what advice would you give Aaron that was in high school from the Aaron that you are today on your journey, and what would you say to him?
Be more organized.
Wait, is that Aaron gonna come visit me too?
Get your shit together. Take that extra, as my friend David Carruthers puts it, the extra 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Take the extra 2 minutes and get everything better organized. Right. And that goes from my desk today. Like, we were shooting something at my desk, and Abby had to move piles of papers. I know where everything is in those piles, right? But they still had to get moved because we wanted to use the desk as part of the shot.
Right.
So getting more organized is huge. And starting my business, if I was a little bit more organized and took those extra 2 minutes a day to add the additional details into the story,
Right.
I would have 10 times, better data today than I did 15 years ago.
Right.
My data would be better because when
I see
you're
what you're saying.
disorganized with client A, and now you have 3,500 of them, and you have
Right.
the same disorganization that
Right.
goes through it,
Right.
you're effed.
Oh, you're majorly
Right?
effed.
You're like, I know everybody. I remember when I hit a point, I forget what year it was. I hit a point. I said to Margaret, one of my key people, I said, Margaret, I don't remember anything. I forgot everything about every single client that we have because it went from a point of knowing everything about everybody to small business, right? To I forgot everything.
Right.
We better have good data. So when somebody calls looking for us, we can go in and look
Those
at
notes.
that data and have it. So having
Right.
those notes early on
Right.
and being super organized, taking the extra 2 minutes, super important.
That's great
to
advice.
High school Aaron, he wouldn't have listened anyway.
But nonetheless, you would have told him.
But that's what it was. College Aaron, grad school Aaron,
Right.
yesterday Aaron.
And you went to Syracuse?
I did undergraduate at Syracuse and then the graduate work at Monmouth.
Okay.
Got my MBA at Monmouth.
Monmouth. Love Monmouth.
Yeah.
So that was my first job ever
Okay.
in the cafeteria. My best friend, still to this day, his mother was the managers when Airmark was there.
Okay.
I don't know if they were there when you were in the cafeteria. I don't know if you stayed
Never
or
went there.
commuted.
No, it was
Okay.
night school.
Okay. So my first job was there, so I love Monmouth. So great,
That's awesome.
great school. Expensive, but great school. So all right, we're getting close to the hard questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw one in before
I'm
that.
sweating.
I'm gonna throw one in before that.
Okay.
But before we do the hard question, are you open to a green tea shot? Or is it too early for you?
Let's do it. Never
Okay,
too
awesome.
early.
Billy, can you grab the cups for us on top of the fridge? You can just stop that. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you so much, man. All right. So you mentioned windmill earlier,
Yeah.
right? So were your parents entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so my dad, my grandfather, serial entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So the windmill started, my grandfather and my great uncle bought it in 76.
Thank you. Okay.
Pre me, but my dad was always in, some type of business ownership. So we lived
Right.
in North Jersey. My dad owned a gas station, used car wash. When there was too many gunshots happening at night around the place, it was time to sell it. And then we moved down the shore in the mid 90s.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so always had an entrepreneurial
Well, I was gonna say, so
upbringing.
has that been like why you eventually are doing your own thing, or you started doing your own thing
Listen,
eventually?
I'm sure it has an influence, right? Because
Right.
I hated working for other people.
Right.
Like I always liked working for myself. Like I did the corporate thing for a couple of years, and then I just didn't like it, so I tried doing some more things independent. That's where I pushed into real estate. I thought I would have had a career on the commercial side, but then things were not doing well.
Right.
And then I went into insurance, worked for another firm for a short period of time. Things weren't going the way that I wanted them to be.
Right.
Right? And now, and that's when I decided to go out on my own. I could do it better myself.
Right.
Now, if I worked for somebody else, I'd make a hell of a lot more money. Have so many fewer bills. But,
Exactly.
but yeah,
All right, Billy,
always like doing it my way.
I'm gonna have you record it in portrait mode for the Commodity shots. So Commodity, real quick. So obviously, anybody who watches knows Commodity. I'm the investor and CMO in Commodity, and first green tea shot ever in the world, pre-made.
Awesome.
Essentially at bars and not really restaurants, more bars, and then obviously liquor stores. We've taken New Jersey by storm. It's been our first test market.
Okay.
And so have you ever ordered a green tea shot before?
I can't say that.
Okay, so
I've had people order them for me.
Okay, but regardless, you have
And it
they're
goes
very
downhill
manual.
quick.
Right, they're very manual, and they're for people who don't want the straight up Jameson shot.
Right.
Right. So for people I don't want the hard shit. So in a nutshell, we're a bartender, instead of having to make it because there's 4 or 5 ingredients.
Right.
You'd be sitting there on a busy night if you're at Jenks or at any place that's busy. You're waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes for them to make it, whatever. So I'm notorious for green tea shots forever since I've been 21. And I'm curious to see what you think here. And for the record, for the past guests, these weren't cold in the past. You got a cold one, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, I got a cold one.
You got a cold one. But they make a big difference.
Get to watch my unsteady hand.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Hey, cheers, man. It's great meeting you, by the way, too.
You too.
It's almost Friday.
It's close enough.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah, it's almost Friday.
That's good. I mean,
Thank you.
you know, you've got. I need a bottle of that because we're.
I have them for you.
Good. We're going from here to the Chubby Pickle in Highlands.
Oh, my goodness.
Have you been to the Chubby Pickle?
So I have not, but my chief experience officer grew up going to the Chubby Pickle.
Oh, God. All right.
So.
So, total dive bar, but this fits so fucking well behind the bar. Adam, I'm going to make you buy a couple cases.
You better. I'll actually give you some test bottles from there.
There you go.
I love that. Boom.
And then we're going from there. We're going to Second Jetty after that. There's a real estate networking event at Second Jetty.
Oh, good. Very
You know,
cool.
so- and
Where's Second Jetty?
Second Jetty's in Seabright.
Oh, Seabright. Okay, got it.
And then after that, got a charity poker tournament tonight. So it's a full fucking day. It's a full
I'll be
day.
in AC tomorrow.
Nice.
Not for
Nice.
poker, though. But, all right, so last question before the hard questions.
Okay.
Is it who really inspires you right now? Is there any like influencers, books, or something that you're reading, or there's somebody you're really motivated by that inspires you? And then I'll ask the second part after that.
Okay. So the book that I'm almost done reading right now, Ego, Authority, Failure, by Derek Gaunt,
Okay.
which is the second book, basically the follow-up to Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Right?
Chris Voss is a fucking badass.
So
He's
you
a good
take Chris's first book, and then the second book, Ego, Authority, Failure, takes things to another level. Still some great hostage stories in the book.
Right, right.
So I'm super into this hostage negotiator leadership stuff right now.
Wild.
But it's, you know, you can't learn it by reading a book.
No,
you
you
know?
gotta do it.
They sell you their 1 day, 2 day courses for like thousands of dollars, and you have to go live. And you know, totally on my list of things to do is to go sit and learn from these guys from the Black Swan Group live.
Right.
You know, so that's my head is all in on that stuff right
Dude,
now.
I love it. And for people who haven't read, what was your biggest takeaway from Never Split the Difference?
I like stories, right? So the biggest takeaway is, right, so it goes into emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And how to really speak to people in a way where you can make a connection.
Right.
Right? Being able to listen better, I think, is super important. And then taking time after listening of just sheer silence,
Right.
which doesn't happen on a podcast.
No.
Too much dead time. Taking that time to really compute what you've listened to, and then being able to use techniques, right, where they call them labeling and mirroring, to regurgitate that information back to make sure that the person that you're speaking with understands that you understand what the message they're trying to get across, right? So the other thing
like a
was,
reflection point.
right, is taking it, so you say something to me, and I'm like, I regurgitate it to make sure that I heard it correctly, depending on the type of conversation that we're in. And then one of the other cool pieces that I got, I'm gonna say it's 7:38:55, something like that. The actual words that we speak only matter 7% of the time. The inflection is like 38%, like how we say it,
Right.
and then body language is the rest,
Wow.
right? So how I sit here like
powerful.
this,
Yeah.
right? I'm interested in our conversation.
Right.
If I was sitting here like this,
Right.
with my foot up, just lounging, I look slightly disconnected,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it doesn't look good on camera either. But you know, so sitting engaged
Yeah.
in this conversation tells a lot about, you know, what we're talking about.
That's powerful. Thank you for that. All right, the hard shit. You ready?
No.
So there's two questions.
Okay.
One is harder. One's like a
Do I get
a mild.
Do I get a multiple choice here?
One's like a mild.
You're making me nervous.
So you want the mild first or the harder one
no,
first?
let's go. Let's lead up. Let's lead up.
Okay.
Go.
So what I love about that, again, and I say this every podcast, but we literally have not had one person go with the mild one first. And we typically have entrepreneurs on here, so it just is the right thread of pattern. But it's like fucking, I love it so much because I haven't had one person. And when I do, I'm gonna like slime, like Nickelodeon slime them or something. Like, you fucking asked for the easy one first, you're getting slimed. Okay, So hard one first. Okay. So a lot of times with legacy, right? So again, I told you early on, I started this when I was like 17.
Right.
You know, I was a sponge, right? I just wanted to learn everything. I had a million questions, very impressionable.
Sure.
And so when I started getting bigger clients, like multimillionaires, some billionaires, and I would just like be obsessed with like who are you? How the fuck did you get here? And a lot of them told me very early on about legacy.
Okay.
And so this question I like to ask only because, you know, we typically look at legacy from where your feet are right now to like the future, right? Like who's future Aaron? And so I like to reverse engineer this process, right?
Okay.
And so there's one thing on this planet that will supersede you, your kids, their kids, their kids, and it's your gravestone, right?
Okay.
So if you were to write that here, right now, what would that gravestone say?
Oh man, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
It's a good thing most people don't watch past like the 2-minute mark. And nobody's seeing this anyway.
This is the sizzle. This is why you have to watch. No.
You know, so, you know, right now, you know, it's funny. I'm mad at my wife today, so it's going to say ex-husband. You know, so it's going to husband, loving father, family member, you know, community partner. You know, that's an important one to me because I spend a lot of time
In the community.
in nonprofit, right? So I'm on the board of Fulfilled Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean Counties. I
Right.
spent a lot of time on that board. I sit on the board of an industry association. I've been invited to other boards that I've had to turn down. You know, so I've had a lot of board experience. I was the
Right.
president of the Long Branch Chamber of Commerce, so I've done the Chamber of Commerce route.
Wow.
So I've done it all, right?
Right,
So I
right.
spend a lot of time in the community, right? So
Right.
community partner, I think is an important one on there, right? But right now, for me, most importantly, I don't care about the business aspect of things. You know, it's all about what I'm able to set my kids and leave my kids set up with.
Right.
Right. Both their knowledge, their education, right, and then you know if they get a couple of bucks too, that would be great. Do I want them to take the business over? No.
Right.
You know, I hate the family business model.
Yep.
Right. I'm not a huge fan. I want to be able to sell and then repivot and start something else over.
Yep.
Within the next 10 years probably.
Right.
But you know, being able to leave something for my children
Right.
and provide them with the ability to have everything that they could possibly ever want is important to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So-
And thank you for that.
Sure.
Right. It's crazy. We've had
Now I need another shot.
so we've had I have a feeling you are gonna have to go out and get some shots.
Yeah.
So, but
right next door, they open.
yeah,
it.
they are. Yeah, they're open. So, but one of the things though that I've been torn about. So I have a child on the way.
Okay.
My first son.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so one of the things I've been very conflicted about was I started my business prior to like the lacks of when I was growing up, right? Like my family had some financial issues and whatever, and that's why I was like, how can I help? And that's how I started it.
Right.
But I heard this saying, and it's funny because now with Instagram and social media, everything is just fucking cliche now. But I remember hearing this prior to even Instagram being a thing.
Right.
And the quote that one of my clients told me, he said, listen, he's like, you know, at the time he had like, I think he had like 4 or 5 kids. And he said, John, the one thing, if I could tell you anything is don't fucking spoil your kids.
Right.
And I was like, so far, like kids were so far in the future, I couldn't even see them with binoculars at that point. I'm like, what? I don't know, but I'm kids yet. And he's like, I'm telling you now. He goes, if there's anything I could tell you, he's like, do not spoil your fucking kids.
Right.
And I was like, why? And he's like, because essentially, this was so long ago, but like literally paraphrase, it's like, you know, when tough men go through hard times, it makes tough men. Or hard times make tough men. And then easy times make weak men and women, right? So the whole point though is in retrospect, what I've been like mind fucked over is like, you know, how I'm going to do that with like my
not.
son, right?
You're not.
Well,
You're
so
not.
right,
Good
right.
luck.
Thank you. Right. So
Good luck. Spoil the shit out of them.
So I think that's the tough part. So I wanted to ask you that question though, because I've heard a lot of different. I've asked this question a lot to parents. And how many kids do you have?
I have 2.
You have 2 kids.
2 girls.
2 girls. Okay. So, and that's even tougher because girls melt men.
They're
right?
amazing.
They're the best.
Yeah.
And so, is there any? Because I love that you said you don't like the family business model. I feel like there's a little bit tied into that where it's like they're not just getting a business. So, what's your take on like that saying though? That like you know, easy times create weak people. Like,
Plausible,
yeah.
but good.
Yeah.
Glad I have the capacity
Right.
and the ability to spoil my children, right? Educate them, bring them up properly. But,
Right.
you know, having the ability to spoil your kids there's nothing better
Right.
than that. And you probably got that advice from someone who had 4 kids, They're all grown. They're probably 30 years old living at home, and he's angry
Yeah.
because they were spoiled and they didn't have to struggle at all, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and everybody's in a different phase, right? Before you got married, people probably said, don't do it.
Oh,
Don't-
100%.
Don't do it. And you make the same mistake that everybody else makes.
Right.
You go and get married. And then you go and have kids and make the same stupid mistakes that we've all made for thousands of years as human beings.
Right.
And it's going to continue to happen. People are going to continue to make those same mistakes. But then when you have a kid, you're going to do everything you can for them.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
they become, your world is going to shift.
Right.
Your 4-hour butcher block dinners are not happening with a fucking stroller. Right. It's just not. It's just not.
No,
in the
you're not
cards
waiting that
anymore,
long. Right.
Right.
Right. Valid.
You're like,
Valid.
I need mac and cheese and chicken fingers stat.
Right now.
Like,
I love that. You know what's funny though too, because I literally, again, when I was doing this as a younger kid, the second most of my clients have known me since I was a kid.
Right.
So when I did get engaged, I was like excited to tell some of my core like clients, and they were like, "Why?"
they're all miserable.
Right? They're like, why? Why are you getting married?
Right.
I'm like, dude, I love her. Like, she's everything to me. And they're like, come back to me after you have a couple of kids. And I was
Right.
like, all right, I'm gonna come back to you. So I have my first one, so we'll see. Everything's still been great, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
Listen, and it all changes, and it is what it is. And you and your wife are going to make the right decisions for your family and outside influence. And I'm a big believer in this. Like, everybody wants to give you advice on kids and family and all that bullshit.
Yep.
Forget it all.
Yeah.
Some of it's good.
Yeah.
Take it home and think about it.
Right.
But everybody wants to give you unsolicited advice when there's kids around, and it's fucking annoying.
Oh, 100%.
You and your wife make your own decisions, and you do it in private or in public on camera.
Right.
Makes for a good reality show, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you know, it's a cool experience that you're gonna
So
get to change.
are you going for more kids?
Hell no.
Done.
Done.
Capped. Yeah. Okay. So last question.
Go.
So over the years, has there been any like just adage quote that you think about? It could be an Aaron original when it comes to like just like hardship and like, you know, getting through tough times that really resonates with you.
So there's two.
Okay.
Get shit done.
Okay.
Just
Simple, right to the point.
Fucking do it. I used to have a bracelet that had like the beads on it, and it said, I think my wife gave it to me. It said, "Get shit done."
Right.
Because I just like to get it done.
Right.
And then I had these things that I bought for my staff, little pieces of wood that had a saying burnt into the wood. It said, "Fuck it."
So give me the fuck it explanation.
So my two mottos are just get shit done. Just fucking do your work, get it done. We're all gonna be happy and
Right.
and succeed. You know, and then fuck it is just like sometimes you just have to say fuck it. Right? You're either gonna say fuck it and do it or fuck it and not do it.
Right.
And some people you don't want to deal with, you know, so you're gonna say fuck you, not to their faces, and figure out another way to go
Right.
around it.
Right.
But sometimes you just gotta remember to throw your hands up and take a breather and just say fuck it.
That's powerful, man.
Right.
That really is. It really is, and I think it's easier said than done for most people.
Right.
It's not easy to do that for most
You have
people.
to learn that.
You have to learn.
You have to be experienced in order to be able to. Not everybody can go around and just say fuck it. Not everybody can go into a room and have the same conversation because you're not experienced in those conversations.
Right.
So over
Right.
time, you get to learn how to be a crotchety old man and just say fuck it.
Aren't you reading the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
The art of not giving a fuck. There you go.
Yeah, Billy's reading that book right now.
Perfect.
So, dude, number one, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
My big belief and our belief on breaking barriers is time is one asset we don't get back. So you spending it here with us means the world. Drop some good golden nuggets for us today. This is where you plug yourself, though. So look at that camera and tell them where to find you.
Oh man, Aaron Levine, LG Insurance, right? Luxury Group INS is our Instagram. You can stalk me on LinkedIn. Just look up Aaron Levine. You can find me at the Aaron Levine on some other social. But you know, we're happy to field any questions when it comes to your insurance or business. I'm always open to a coffee conversation or a green tea shot.
With Gamodi. Dude, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.